Shadows crawl and nightmares call. Brace yourselves, one and all. It's the Scare Factor Podcast, Season 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the #1 Haunt Podcast with jokes so dry we're on fire. My name is Brian of Team Skelligore in Central New York. Joining me again is Taylor of Team Brady Pack in Kentucky, Indiana, I don't know, somewhere in the Midwest. Taylor, how are you?
I'm doing good, partner. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. Also joining us this week, longtime listener, first-time caller, Lindsay of Team Lone Wolf. Also, incidentally, somewhere in the Midwest. I think we're seeing a pattern here. I might be the only one that's not in the Midwest. Lindsay, how is it going?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I'm ready to rock. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So over the weekend, breaking the fourth wall here. We record these on Mondays. So over the weekend, I did a thing that I saw on Facebook, and let me tell you, folks, this is not something you really want to do a lot of, is seeing baking and cooking videos on YouTube and Facebook, and then going and trying them, because they usually don't turn out the same. But this one did kind of turn out the same. It's a video where, like, somebody made homemade chocolate chip cookies, and they took the little dough ball, and then they had cinnamon bun, like unbaked cinnamon bun dough, and they wrapped that around the cookie, and then they baked them both at the same time. And they looked really good in the video that I saw. They don't look as good. Mine don't look as good. But I got to tell you, these are so good. It turns out chocolate chip cookies and cinnamon buns bake at the same temperature and time. My mind is blown to the possibilities that I could do with this. And my daughter had a lot of fun helping make these. I just did this with, like, store-bought, pre-made cookie dough and the Pillsbury OG cinnamon bun tube, whatever, which is a lot of fun to open. It's like a giant glow stick where you crack that bitch in half. But yeah, I got to tell you, this would be really good with, like, homemade from both sides. Taylor actually came up with the idea of sourdough cinnamon buns, and I'm intrigued. Taylor, tell me more.
Oh my gosh. Have you never done like a sourdough starter, or have you had something sourdough? I mean, I assume, but
I've had sourdough French toast before at, like, Cracker Barrel, but that was a really long time ago, and I remember it being really, really good. But I don't really have the time to do, like, a sourdough starter and, like, make my own bread and all that shit. That's over my head.
yeah, it is a little time consuming, but when you get started into it, you can make up anything you want. Like I try to make some, like, kind of cinnamon rolls, but I was doing more of like a fruit roll. So I had my sourdough and I rolled it out, did the same thing as I would have for a cinnamon roll, but instead I made my own, like, fruit puree kind of thing that went inside it. It was so good, and that took some to work, and sourdough is just the best thing.
That actually sounds really delicious.
It is time consuming though, but good.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing, right, for me, is I don't know if I have the time to dedicate to it. We're going to turn this into a podcast about the haunt industry and cooking, which incidentally is kind of what we're talking about today. We're talking about food in a way. Today we are talking about merch and food. What do customers really want? And the reason that Lindsay is on this episode is because Lindsay, before joining the Scare Factor, went to, like, 40 haunts a year or something? What do you know the exact number, Lindsay?
It really varied. I would average at least 20 or more a season.
That is absurd. Like, the only other people I know that do that regularly is Tyler and Nora, and I'm not fully convinced that they are, like, 100% human. Like, I'm pretty sure there's, like, some biomechanical parts inside of them that just keep them running 24/7 to be able to do everything that they do. Yeah, it's so many. So that's primarily the reason I've brought Lindsay onto this episode, is because she is going to have some really good perspective and insight as to the types of offerings that haunts have, and she's probably had some thoughts about, like, hey, how come more haunts don't have this or that, or why does everybody have this one thing that really sucks? So we're going to jump into the merchandise side to begin. And I think it's important to establish the typical offerings, right? You think shirts and hoodies and hats and shot glasses for some reason, because, nothing goes better with haunts than getting hammered. Stickers, pins, magnets, that sort of thing. What other things have you guys seen in terms of merchandise?
I mean, that's pretty much the typical thing I've ever seen. Stickers, maybe some enamel pins, badges, as I call them, hoodies. But there's one, oh man, I just blanked on the name. But either way, they have like a whole store that's set up with all these other icons, like throughout their Q actors. They have like little action figures of them. It's kind of cool, but they're so priced, and they have other things like vintage Halloween decorations. But it's only for that one particular haunt. Other haunts are pretty much the general T-shirt, sticker, an enamel badge, anything like that.
Yeah, you mentioned like the keychains. That's something I'm starting to see more of, are the character specific keychains. And during East Coast Hunters Convention, I chatted with the guys at Field of Screams, and they mentioned that you can go to that company and you could just pay to have like your own custom little character voodoo doll type keychains made. And guys, I'm thinking we might want to get some of these for those of us on the podcast and sell them.
Oh, I'm down.
How great would it be to have a little Brian keychain?
I would get one. I'm just saying, I would get one.
I would get one too. Like I expect everybody to get one so they can stick like pins in it, right? I mean, it's like a little voodoo doll.
Oh yeah, I love that idea. I'm gonna get the whole bundle.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something that it's not every haunt that offers them, but I am starting to see them more and more. And I think it's more like the bigger haunts that just have larger budgets are starting to offer them. And it's starting to filter down into, I guess the mid-size haunts. I think before long, we'll be seeing that in pretty much every haunt. In terms of food, what sort of things do you guys normally see for food?
Something that consistently goes over well, sweets. People love the funnel cakes, they love the deep fried Oreos, things along those lines. The mini donuts are always a hit. I mean, that's why you always see them at all the big haunt trade shows and conventions and stuff.
I love deep fried Oreos so much.
Oh, definitely. That's a favorite of mine to see at a haunt if they're done right. Like it doesn't have like old oil and they taste gross. And
That's true.
then for like savory options, there's a lot of, I see chicken tenders a lot, hot dogs, nachos, pretty easy to put together. I mean, those are really accessible like to lower budget haunts who might not be able to offer a lot by way of concessions, but you can do hot dogs, nachos.
Right, you
I
can
kinda wanna
go
say
if you have a
popcorn
Costco
too.
membership, you can go pick up, 80 gallons of nacho cheese and,
Right.
big bags of the chips, and you can sell them for a few bucks a piece.
Pizza as well. I see a lot of pizza by the slice.
Pizza's hit or miss for me in my experience, but, yeah, nachos, hot dogs, and chicken tenders really seem to be the haunt staples, and I gotta tell you, my diet just goes to complete shit during haunt season.
Heard.
Felt, honestly. Yeah, I do like, because I like me, regular listeners know that I am a one man force within the scare factor. Lindsay is very much the same way. Team Lone Wolf. Where do you think that's coming from, right? So I mean, like, you're probably like me in the way of, you're going to go out to the haunt and it's like, oh, well, I might as well eat while I'm here. I don't have a bunch of people going like, well, we got to get to this other place and I want to go here and I want to do this and blah, 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 blah. And, I mean, you just end up eating at the haunts and oh my God, I gain 20 pounds every October. So we've kind of covered what the typical offerings are. Who has the best merch and who has the best food? Is it the same haunt? Is it two different haunts? What do you guys think?
I'm gonna say roughly around the same haunt, which would have like more interactive spots in it, maybe more sections. The storyline's really good, and then when you get to the gift shop area, then they have some of the best merch you can get.
I mean, I'm looking for specific haunt names here. Like, where have you
Okay.
been that's like, who has the best? Like, what's the best you've ever had at a haunt in terms of merch and food?
For me, probably Talon Falls. That was actually the one I was talking about before. Um, Talon Falls is very interactive. It's such a really good haunt. And then when you get to the gift shop, it's so huge, but it's not too confusing, and it has pretty much anything that anybody is looking for to remember them. And they actually have some of those like voodoo doll keychains in the gift shop.
Yeah. Lindsay, what about you? Where's the best merch and best food you've ever found at a haunt?
Oh goodness. Food is kind of a tough one because the haunt I was gonna say ended up losing their food vendor, which kind of sucks. But Terror Town, now known as Cincinnati Fear Fest, has pretty good food options there. Really, you can't go wrong with most of like the Scream Park style haunts. They usually have quite a few options. So they're pretty good about the food. As far as merch goes, I could name so many. Like I've seen some killer gift shops, and last year I actually gave out an award for best merch or best gift shop. So locally, the American Horrorplex in Louisville, they've got a really, really good gift shop. It's got not only a variety of haunt specific merch, and like they've got their characters featured on so many things. It's awesome. But they've got a lot of traditional Halloween stuff for sale too. So
That's
you
cool.
could I seem to remember Nora saying she could easily spend like an hour in there, and I don't disagree with that. I also really like the Dent Schoolhouse in Cincinnati has a lot of awesome merch. I gotta stop by that counter every time I'm there. And Hell's Gate Haunted House in Illinois, that's another fantastic gift shop. I mean, there's more I could go on, but those are a few of my favorites.
I actually have a piece of Hell's Gate merch on my wall right now. It's a metal wall sign. Yeah, I will 100% agree that Hell's Gate has a fantastic gift shop. And I think part of what is creating a great merch option or a great gift shop and great food options is I think the common link we're seeing here are places that have bigger midways, right? Larger common areas. They're able to sink more into that space. Um, for me, I think the best food is a really good question, right? I'm trying to really rack my brain of like, where's the best food I've had at a haunt? It's all, I don't know, it's all kind of the same to me. I don't, it's hot food. Give me. Now, best merch, on the other hand, it really depends. I'm gonna agree on Hell's Gate being a really great one, just because I have merch from them sitting on my wall. But I also think that Terror Roulette, which ran for like one season in Chicago, they had it was a small gift shop, but they had some really cool stuff in there. I have a deck of cards that has like all their branding and stuff on it, and it's got like a printed blood splatter on them. Super cool. Eastern State Penitentiary has a really cool haunt gift shop as well. They have a bit of a larger space, similar to how Hell's Gate has theirs. And you can find some really cool stuff in there that's all like haunt branded. They have the voodoo doll keychains, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's. Would you guys agree that the common link here is kind of larger midways equals bigger and better gift shops, at least?
Yes, because it's more of an all-night experience for the customer. So
Sure.
they're going to be more inclined to stick around and maybe do some shopping.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the better your option, the better your offerings in that gift shop, the more people are willing to spend, right? If you have the same standard assortment of crap that everybody else has, well, look, man, maybe I'll buy a t-shirt depending on how much they are, but do I really need another haunt t-shirt? The answer is yes, but that's a rhetorical question. So, you guys touched on this a little bit. Non-haunt specific merch, so like those places that offer vintage Halloween stuff or, horror movie sorts of collectibles. What do we think of this? Is that a good thing? Do you think more haunts should start offering those if they have the opportunity? Or do you think it's kind of like, do you think it's a cheap money grab? Like they got these cheap and now they're trying to sell them off to people who are likely to want them?
Mm, it really depends on what it is. Like, I've definitely seen some honestly kind of cheap, random crap thrown in gift shops. And I'm just standing there like, who's buying this? But I do think it's important that they have some options for people who, might find it interesting. Maybe they don't want to come home for whatever reason with a souvenir from the haunt, but they see something else they might like.
Okay, fair enough. Taylor, what do you think? Should more haunts carry that?
I mean, I'm gonna actually say like no, maybe not like the random stuff, like random Halloween decorations or like movies, books, like anything horror doesn't actually have to be at every haunt. I do think it's interesting to see, but even when I've seen it, that doesn't make me want to just buy it there though, because when I'm there for the attraction, I either want to find something for the attraction or I don't get anything at all.
I'm very much with you on that sentiment. My thoughts on this are it's cool to see, and I like to browse through it because you never know what you're going to come across. There might be something that just, really stands out to me, and it's like I've never seen one before. But for me, it's like when I buy something at a haunt, I want to remember 5 years from now, like, oh, this is where I bought that thing, right? It's kind of the same idea of if you've ever been to Orlando Studios, Universal Studios in like Orlando or Hollywood, and if you go to their City Walk, right? Like there's a bunch of shops that just sell a bunch of whatever random crap out there, and they have a bunch of bars and whatever. It's kind of like it's exactly what it sounds like. It's City Walk, right? It's a nice like nightlife sort of area right on their property, and there are shops like Brookstone there. Like, here's the question. Why would I pay the elevated price to get some Brookstone junk just because I'm at City Walk when I could go home to Brookstone and buy the same thing for like $20 cheaper? And the same thing for me, I think, applies when I go to a haunt, right? Like, why would I buy a DVD of some horror movie here from you for $10 when I can go home and I can get it on eBay for $2? It's not specific to your haunt. It's not special to you. It's not even a rare item. It's just like, hey, you went to the dollar bin at Walmart and picked up horror movies. So I think unless it's something really special that has some connection to the haunt or maybe to the owner, leave it out. I don't think it needs to be in every haunt. Now, if it's a specific vendor that's selling that stuff and they're just set up because they're friends with the haunt or whatever, that's a little bit different. But yeah,
Yeah, but most of that stuff is going to be more unique to the vendor itself. I mean, hopefully at least, but like movies and stuff, you can go home and stream that anywhere most days now. So unless the actual merch is new because the theme is new, most times haunts are going to have some of the similar stuff.
yeah. I mean, I've seen some cool like figures and physical collectibles of stuff, and it's like, wow, that's cool. But like, I don't know, collectibles are such a weird thing for me. I enjoy collectibles. I have a bunch of collectibles. But then when I stop to think about it, it's just like it's a thing that I spent money on, and I look at it and I see where my money went, and it's like it doesn't provide anything other than like, huh, that's kind of cool.
But those are the best things.
Models are a little different though. Models at least provide me an hour or two of entertainment while I put them together and curse at it. So, looking at other things that maybe haunts aren't doing a lot of, or at least not a lot of haunts are doing this. When you go to an amusement park, right, as we're approaching the summer here, when you go to an amusement park and you ride a roller coaster, they're taking your picture at some point on that ride, or at least a good number of them are. And then later on, or when you come off of that ride, or maybe at the main gift shop, in the case of like Hershey Park, they are willing to sell you that photo. Is this something you think more haunts should do? Because I say yes. There are some haunts that do this. Nightmare Fear Factory is like a really famous one that did this. Lindsay, I think you mentioned that there were a couple of places you'd been to that does this, right? Where were they?
The main one I thought of was Nightmare on Edgewood. They're in Indianapolis, full contact haunt, so it gets pretty crazy. But every night they put a photographer in one of the rooms and they just snap away as groups are coming through that room and get reaction photos. And man, some of them are hilarious.
So do you think more haunts should start doing this?
I completely agree. Yes, they should. It's great.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a really interesting idea. Unfortunately, I haven't been through a haunt that does that, but that would be really cool and something I would actually want to get.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of fun. At the end of at the end of that attraction, you come out to the gift shop and you can see your picture. It is a fun thing because you look at it and you point and you laugh, ha ha ha. Look at us, we look so stupid in that. Yeah, I think more haunts should. I think more haunts should carry or should do this anyway because you come out, you look at it, you laugh with your friends about how stupid you looked in the picture, and then maybe you buy it, maybe you don't, but like it is another layer of entertainment, right? Haunts that are listening to this show, you you can have this one for free, okay? Just set a camera up somewhere, take pictures, sell the prints. Trust me, people will buy them. But you got to put it in a good spot. You can't just like get people wandering around through the dark. That's not as good. You got to get them during a big scare. You're welcome in advance, by the way. I'm not going to charge you for that one. So, so speaking of things that haunts don't really do a lot of, something I've noticed is there are not that many haunts that do bespoke items, right? Really unique things. And by that, I don't mean the regular crap with their logo on it. I mean really unique, like maybe handmade thing. I have a keychain, a leather keychain that I bought at Dark Matter Screamworks in Rochester, New York, and it's made by somebody that works there, and I think it's really cool. And I was willing to spend $12 on that thing. That's a lot for a keychain, by the way. I have from Haunted Overload in New Hampshire. I have these two little wall hanger things that were handmade by the owner of the haunt. And I think this is such a cool thing, right? I'm willing to spend basically however much money they're asking for these things because they are so unique. You cannot buy that anywhere else, right? You can't just go and get that logo and slap it on something. These are super unique to that specific haunt. So my question for you guys is, what have you seen in terms of really unique bespoke items that just really stood out to you? Maybe you have them in your homes now.
I don't have any of these because I am a poor. But when Cincinnati Fear Fest was All Hallows Eve Terror Town, they so it wasn't just a haunt. They also were kind of a prop company too. And they sold these hyper realistic severed hands, fingers, just corpses, whatever you could think of. They made them in house and customers could buy those. And I did see people walk out with them. Just super, super cool. I'm not sure if that's quite what you're thinking of, but that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, I mean, if they're making them in-house, that's exactly what I have in mind. I love that shit. The more gory, the better.
They really did look very realistic, like silicone and everything. And they were priced accordingly. So like I said, I didn't get the opportunity to bring any home with me, but they were super, super cool.
That's awesome.
That sounds really cool.
And if they're being made like by their in-house special effects and makeup departments, like, yeah, if those, like, you can see the quality of their work in action in the haunt and be like, oh, those guys made this stuff? Yeah, I'll bring that home because it's well made. Taylor, what about you? What have you seen that maybe you've bought or maybe you've wanted to buy?
Something which I'm assuming it was at Talon Falls, they had like figures like action figures that really seemed similar to their Q actors. And I thought that was on purpose. And maybe I was just thinking like, oh, that action figure looked like that Scarecrow guy on stilts outside, but it also could have just been any kind of Scarecrow action figure. I didn't get it, but I kind of thought it was really cool. Other than that, I haven't really been to any haunts that have made their own merchandise, or at least not that I had noticed.
Yeah, it's not something that I see a ton of, but every now and then I'll come across something and go like, hey, that's really cool. Can you tell me more about these keychains or whatever? And usually if they're made in-house or they're made by somebody that works there, the person running the gift shop is more than happy to talk your ear off about like, oh yeah, these are made by one of our actors and this is what they do in their free time and they own a business and all this. Like they'll tell you all about it. Yeah, ask questions. If you see something that's kind of cool and kind of weird, that's not like your standard like, t-shirt or whatever, ask questions about it. Because you might come across something that's really cool and it's made by somebody there and it's like, this is your opportunity to buy something. Again, really awesome and really, really, really unique. Um, but along those lines, how much are you willing to spend on merch? Do you have a budget when you go to a haunt to say, like, this is how much I'm willing to spend on, merch if I see something I want?
I mean, no, not really, but mentally, I'm like, yes, you can only spend X amount of dollars. So if I'm going to the gift shop and I'm like, I see a really cool T-shirt, I'm like, all right, it's so cool, but how much is it? Even though I know kind of deep down I can afford it, but I'm like, maybe if it's not more, if it's less than $20, cool, I'll get it. But if it's more, I might think about it. Because sometimes that larger price really sets me aside from wanting to get it. Because again, it's really cool, and maybe it's just a T-shirt or like a bandana, but how long am I going to have it?
Yeah, fair enough. I think t-shirts are going to last you a few years at least. I mean, I feel okay paying $20 for a t-shirt because I know I'm going to have it for at least 5 years. But, here's the question. Would you pay $50 for a hoodie? Because that seems to be, pretty average or pretty standard these days. Is that too much for a hoodie?
I would say probably not. I mean, clothes items, yeah, it can be price range to a really low point, and then there's a really high point. But $50 for a hoodie in the long run is really not that much. I mean, you can go to Walmart and you can still spend at least $25 on a hoodie, but it's just probably a plain hoodie or it's really low material.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you go to a concert and hoodies are, $100. You know, that's hopefully haunts don't get to that level of price gouging. Although I'm sure there are some out there that will or already have. Lindsay, what do you think? You're pretty quiet on this one. What are your thoughts?
So, to touch on your question about budget, I don't really have one. I am selective about how much I spend on like apparel, especially because I've got so many haunt shirts and hoodies and stuff. I might look at it and be like, well, do I really need this? It used to be I would just, anytime I went to a new haunt, had to have the shirt, especially if it was a haunt that's out of state. I might not be able to get back there for a while, so gotta have the shirt. But now I'm a lot more selective about it. I really I prefer things that you don't see quite as often and smaller items, more subtle ways to express that you enjoyed the haunt when people see you out and about, with the merch. I will say the most I've spent on something was, again, I'm going to pick on Terror Town, sorry, Cincinnati Fear Fest. um, there's a vendor there. She's been there for years. And I think this kind of touches on the topic about bespoke items too, but she paints and she's done a lot of paintings of the characters at the haunt, but she had one for sale last season that was all the actors in a particular asylum scene on the haunted trail. I don't remember off the top of my head what season it was from, but I recognized a lot of the people in it, and I saw that. I was like, oh my god, I have to have it. It's one of my most prized haunt possessions, and it cost me $80. It is the original, though.
That's not bad, honestly.
No, never original.
And if a really well-made piece of art that you really love, I think $80 that's a steal. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same. I used to be the same way as you, Lindsay, is like you go to a place that's kind of far away and you're like, I got to get something. These days, not so much. I will get something if it really catches my eye and I go, wow, that is that thing is so cool. I've got to have that. It's such a, for example, the wall hangers from Haunted Overload, right? I saw those. I went 2 years in a row, actually. The first year I went, they were selling two of them. They were selling like a pumpkin one and a skull one. And so I had bought the pumpkin one just because that was kind of all I could really spend at the time. And they were, I don't know, $25 or something for the pair. And they were willing to let, you could buy, if you bought both of them together, you could get them for like $40. And it was just a little too much for me. So I bought the pumpkin one, or no, I bought the skull one first because I thought that was the cooler of the two. So I went back the next year and I stopped at their little gift shop at the very end of the attraction. I was chatting with the attendant in there, and I said, "Oh, hey, last year you guys were selling these little like homemade wall hanger things that the owner made. Do you have any of those left?" She goes, "Actually, I do. I have, a small handful, maybe 5 or 10 of them left." She goes, "Did you want one?" I go, "Yeah, which ones do you have?" She goes, "I think all we have are the pumpkins." And I'm like, "That's the one I don't have. Yeah, I'll take that one." So, I was very lucky in that, like, I went back the second year and was able to get, both of them. But, that's the sort of thing that I kind of keep an eye out for. T-shirts and hoodies, whatever. It's maybe I'll get one if it looks really, really cool, or like in the case of at East Coast Hunters Convention, we went to Eastern State Penitentiary for the Saturday night party. And we get there, and I did not have my hoodie on because my hoodie was soaked by the rain the previous day, and it was not a good time. And so we get there, and I was like, I'll be fine without a hoodie. And it turns out, no, I was not good without a hoodie, because the wind picked up. It got much cooler, and so we ate, and then as soon as we got done eating, I told Tyler and Nora, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna run down to the gift shop and just pick up a hoodie because I am freezing." And so I got a hoodie down there, and I'm glad I did, just because like it did help to keep me warm, even though that hoodie is really thin. It's really lightweight. Maybe I should have bought a heavier duty one, but that was like $75 or something. It was pricey for a hoodie, right? That's kind of the other scenario, is like I'll buy a hoodie if it turns out that like I need one and I don't have one, right? You get it out of necessity. But like I'm glad I have it because it is like a nice summer weight hoodie that I can wear on a cool summer night, that sort of thing. I can wear this during haunt season while it's still somewhat warm out. It'll have its uses, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna get my $75 worth out of this thing. But $75 for this super lightweight hoodie, I think, was a bit much. It was a little over what I wanted to spend, but what are you gonna do, right? Now, what about really super unique items like tapestries and area rugs? Have you ever seen this? I know Terror Field in Clyde, New York. I've seen they have an area rug. I don't know if it's for sale, but they have one. How much would you spend on something like a tapestry or an area rug, or maybe a curtain set or a bath towel set? What if you saw something like that? Like, what's a reasonable price to pay?
I've never seen like a tapestry or a rug at a haunt before, but I would say, depending on the size, anywhere from 75 to maybe $90, depending on size and quality,
Mhm.
because that's a pretty heavy duty item.
Yeah, I mean, a rug is going to be expensive just without the branding on it, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Towel set, I don't know, $50 plus. I'm not sure. That's another thing I've never really seen at a haunt.
What about custom toilet paper? It's not something I've ever seen, but I'm sure that somebody out there's got it.
I have not seen any of these things at a haunt, so it's kind of hard for me to gauge on.
Well, that's kind of the point, right? It's the absurdity of like, what if you saw something super weird with the Haunta logo on it? Like, how much would you pay for it? Like, would you buy it?
Probably just to have it to be funny, like the toilet paper. But I don't
Oh,
know how much I'd
absolutely.
spend on that. But that would just be so funny.
Yeah, for me, the most I'd spend on like novelty toilet paper is gonna be like $10, right?
Yeah, 10, 15.
Oh no, 15 is way too much. No, $10
No.
absolute maximum, including tax. I am not spending more than $10 flat on custom toilet paper. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, a towel set, like if they're well-made towels, like yeah, I might spend 40 or $50 on like really good quality towels. And they have the
Damn.
logo of like a haunt. Oh yeah, no, good quality towels they can go for a lot more than that. They go to like Bed Bath and Beyond and go find like their like premium brand towels and stuff. Trust me, you can spend on some towels.
Oh yeah, I know. Unfortunately, our Bed Bath and Beyond closed, but they had some really good towels.
I don't know, go somewhere that carries like premium brands for like linens, and go find like some really luxurious towels, really soft towels. Oh my god, yeah. You could spend on them. $100 for a set is not unheard of.
Does Target count?
I don't think Target counts.
Then I think I'm out of the bath game.
Hey, no shame in Target. I own a lot of Target towels, and they hold up pretty well.
Hey, there we go.
Look, I mean, if you need a budget towel that's gonna hold up for a while, like it's not a bad option. Incidentally, I don't go to Target anymore. We're not getting into that. That's way too political for this show. Yeah, Target's made some choice decisions lately. So, back on topic here because we're not getting into that on this show. No, you got to tune into Brian After Dark for that conversation. So let's think about food at haunts. How much do you spend on food at a haunt in general? Like you go to a haunt, how much are you willing to spend? Is it like $10 you get a dog and a soda? Or are you willing to spend a little more, like $20 you get protein, a drink, sweets, fries, whatever.
Depending on what they've got available, I average probably about $15 for a decent meal. And that's not just like hot dog and drink or anything. That's like burger and fries and drink, and might even be able to get some dessert if they've got it. Say 15 to 20 as a rule of thumb. But I've also definitely been to haunts where you could just drop $10 and get a little something to eat.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, pretty much same, $15, $20. But I mean, I've also been to haunts that don't offer food. They might have like a canned soda, and they're charging anywhere from like $2 to $3 for that can.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, but they know that you're going to pay for it, right?
Oh yeah, you're dying of thirst, you'll get it.
Oh, absolutely. For me, I generally try not to spend too much more than around $15 to $20. Now, if I have my daughter with me, obviously, like we're just gonna end up spending a little bit more because it's like, she'll want something, and then I'll get something because like, well, I'm standing in line, I might as well. So it's like I think when my daughter's with me, I end up spending somewhere in the neighborhood of like $25 ish. But if it's just me, yeah, $15 maybe at most. Because it's like I'll get a bottle of water. If I'm getting food, like I'll get a can of soda. If they have fried Oreos, I'm getting them. I don't care. I needs the fried Oreos. Now, the haunt I used to work at, Frightmare Farms, they used to sell, and they probably still do sell, what they call the Frightmare Platter. And it was really intended to feed 2 people. And I want to say that it was like $15 just for this whole thing, not counting your drinks. And it was like 2 hot dogs, a pile of nachos, fries, and chicken tenders. And I mean, it was a lot of food. And it was, like I said, it was $15, and then you spend another, let's say $4 between a couple of sodas. I mean, you're easily up to $20 on this thing. But almost every actor would come out at the end of the night and be like, give me that Frightmare Platter.
I love it.
Me being one of them, right? Because like I worked in the house, and the house was usually we were usually the second one to get dismissed. So like there was another, now they have a hayride, but I worked there before the hayride. So there was an indoor / outdoor, like hybrid sort of attraction. They called it the Labyrinth. And then there was a fully indoor attraction that was the house, and then you had a fully outdoor trail. So the trail was always the last one to close down because the recommended flow, I guess, was Labyrinth House Trail. And so I just always ended up being in the second group that got dismissed for the night. And so, it's like they still had like enough stuff by the time I got out and was out of costume to go and get one of these. I can't say the same for all of the trail actors, but yeah, every night I'd go over there like, give me that Frightmare Platter, and they'd give us little discounts, because it's like they know we're working hard in there and whatever. But oh my god, it's so much food. Like thinking about it now, I have no idea how I ate a whole one of those every single, like twice a week, but I did it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't spend a ton on food. Sorry, I went and rambled. I don't really know where I went during all of that. I'm going to be honest with everybody here. I talk sometimes, and it's like a motor. You start the motor, the words come out. I'm not fully here when it happens. If I say something that's like way off base, just go with it. Understand that I don't know what's happening either.
Totally understandable.
Would you spend more money on like higher quality food or more diverse options? Is that something you would do, or would you just be like, who cares? Food's food.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So Lindsay, you say you would spend on like more on higher quality food or more diverse options. What sort of things would you like to see in terms of that?
I'm really not picky. I just like to see when a haunt has options beyond the standard fare that we talked about earlier, hot dogs and nachos and all that stuff. Not that I don't enjoy those things, but it is nice when I see a lot of variety. If I can call out a haunt for that, Blood Prison in Ohio has like their own food midway. It's fantastic. So many options. So I like seeing things like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, every now and then I see something that's a little out there, and I'm like, that's not a bad idea. But the problem is I'm usually just like, I'm not hungry enough to go get anything. Yeah, so the Fright Nights, so the family that owns the Fright Nights, they also own these like fried dough stands that they set up at the fair. It's called Pizza Frites, and it's really good, and it's super popular at the fair. They always have a line 10 miles long. So they sell Pizza Frites during their haunt, like on their outdoor midway area. And I got to tell you, like it's as popular then as it is during the state fair. And that's something that I always enjoy seeing. And that you're never going to see that anywhere else. So it's like, well, I might as well get some fried dough while I'm here. I mean, where else am I going to get this for the next, 9 months or whatever? I mean, more diverse options though for me, like I don't really know. Like I'm not expecting a steak dinner or anything, right? Although I will say I think that the key to success here is for haunts that want a more diverse option, partner with local food truck operators. Find some that are doing different things and then have them come out and set up shop at, just outside your haunt, because people are coming outside and they're like, oh, hey, Crooked Descent this past year in 2024, they had a food truck set up the night I was there that was selling like lumpia and other, Asian sort of dishes and like Middle Eastern sort of dishes, that sort of thing. And it's like they had a bunch of like different foods and stuff that was like, oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah, I like that idea. It kind of gives to the community too, as well.
Right. Right. And I think the first year that I saw Crooked Descent, they had a food truck there. I think it was the same one every weekend, but they sold like brisket. They did barbecue. And I'm like, yo, you got brisket? And the brisket was actually really good. It's like, that's not the worst idea I've heard. So haunts, partner with food truck operators, come up with a deal where, you say, hey, you can come set up and, pay me 5% of whatever you make for tonight. So that way the haunt is getting their cut. The haunt has a reason to let these people set up on their site, and the food truck operators get a little extra business in a time that's not necessarily peak food truck time, right? And maybe you get some new people who are like, oh, I see your food truck all the time downtown and I never stop. Now I know your food is awesome. I'm going to go in there next. I'm going to stop by next time I see you. Right? So now these food trucks are getting new customers. Everybody wins. You get a higher, more selection of food. You get higher quality more often than not. Hans, why are we not doing this more frequently? Right? That's another freebie. You can have that one. The next one I'm going to charge you for. Hot cider. How do you take yours?
Like apple cider?
Yeah, hot cider. You ever had hot cider?
I don't think so. No, I've had like chai with apple juice, but that's not cider.
I like mine with whipped cream, maybe a sprinkle of cinnamon.
See, girl after my own heart. I'm telling you, I gotta have my hot cider with a nice spritz of whipped cream on top, dash of cinnamon, maybe a little pumpkin spice in there, because I am a basic white girl after all.
Yes, queen.
Listen. Every year, as soon as Starbucks offers them, I go get a pumpkin spice latte. I don't care what either one of you have to say about it. They are delicious.
Damn, I'm the first one in the line waiting.
Back you up.
I'll meet you at the front of the line. We can hold hands this year.
I'll come up to New York just for this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I got to get that pumpkin spice every year, just like in me, on me, whatever. Just I need it near me constantly through the month of October. Um, yeah, I mean, kind of a funny question, but for folks listening that have never had hot cider, and for our international audience, if they're out there, in the UK, cider is an alcoholic drink, right? In the United States, we call that hard cider because it is apple cider that is, you know, been fermented and now got alcohol in it. What we call apple cider is not quite apple juice, but it's a similar product. It is a juice like product that comes from apples. There's a whole thing about like how apple cider is different from apple juice. Just know that when I say apple cider, I do mean the non-alcoholic variety. So hot cider is apple cider that has been heated and then put into a receptacle by which you will drink it, and then um, again, you can have it just like that if you want to, but I mean that's boring, and who likes boring? Not me. So, now what you do is you take yourself some Ready Whip, you spray that on top, get yourself a nice big dollop up there, get yourself some cinnamon, sprinkle it on there, get yourself some pumpkin spice, sprinkle it on there. Maybe get yourself some of that like chocolate powder stuff, that cocoa powder that Starbucks has you can put in your drink. Put a little bit of that on there. It's actually pretty good. Enjoy it. Trust me, you can thank me later. It's delicious.
Making it aesthetically pretty.
Yes, absolutely. Look, the better it looks, the better it's going to taste. Okay. Now I used to pick on Nora because she had never had hot cider. She always wanted to try it, and then she did try it, and I was like, "Oh, how did like, how did they heat it up, and like, how did they make it?" And she's like, "Oh, they just had it like on a hot plate in a coffee pot." And I'm like, "Oh, I mean, that's one way to do it, I guess." It's a step up from like, just fucking microwaving a cup of cold cider, but all right. I guess
I'm gonna
that's
hurt.
one way to do it.
I'm gonna hurt your heart, Brian. But I get the like half-gallon jugs from Walmart of apple cider during the fall, and that normally just does it for me right there for apple cider.
Honestly, there's nothing wrong with cold apple cider. Trust me. I love some apple cider, but I also live about 20 minutes just to the north of uh one of the largest apple orchards in the country in terms of volume of sales. So I live very close to Beacon Skiff, and if you're familiar with hard cider brands, they're the people behind 1911. And I gotta tell you, their hard cider, delicious. I'm upset that they don't carry their hopped hard cider anymore. I really enjoyed that. But their original, awesome. Every single variety of their hard cider I've had, delicious. They make whiskey, they make vodka, they do all sorts of good shit. They're just straight plain apple cider. Again, awesome, amazing, delicious. In the summer, they do a concert series where they bring like indie rock artists in. They had Lord Huron play. I've seen Death Cab for Cutie there. I got to tell you, there's Beacon Skiff might be one of the greatest places on earth. All right, and if anybody listening knows about Beacon Skiff, we're in solidarity here, right? I'm here to tell you, Beacon Skiff is an amazing place. So yeah, I'm with you. Cold cider, but it's got to be from Beacon Skiff.
Yeah, I've not had that, I don't believe. So I will have to try to find that.
After this podcast, I will get you a link, and you can find where 1911 is sold near you. It's
Hell
real
yeah.
good shit. So speaking of alcohol, some haunts offer this for sale. Have you been to anywhere that does that? And do you think that it creates more problems than it's worth?
I have been to a few haunts that do offer alcohol, and I really don't hear much of it being a problem. I mean, it can be, it always can be, but they're pretty good about weeding out the people who can't handle their alcohol.
Hmm.
So obviously, it's not been enough of an issue for them to like stopped selling it. But yeah, I have been to some that offer alcohol.
Fair enough. Yeah, I went to Field of Screams during East Coast Hunters Convention, and I mean they have like a bar on site there. They have like their own beer that's made specifically for them, which it was very good beer. I don't, I didn't think at the time to ask like, do people get rowdy or anything, but I think just considering the fact that they've sunk a lot of money into that bar and the beer and everything, it probably hasn't caused that many problems for them. Taylor, what do you think?
See, I've only been to just like a small handful. I can't recall that I actually ever got any alcohol while I was there, but I didn't see any issues as it arose, but I'm sure that it could be a problem. Most times when alcohol is involved, especially if there's not really a limit or if their friends are getting their friends their drinks, like could be a problem. But so far I haven't really seen a problem. Pretty sure it's not that much of a problem.
Yeah, fair enough. I I think for the most part, the places that offer it kind of have a good handle on security. So, and that being said, I think it's something I would like to see at more haunts where you do have a bar sort of area where you can have that and you can enjoy that. I think that like their security game really needs to be on point before they offer that. But just food for thought. It's something that kind of crossed my mind as I was writing the outline for this episode. I'm like, hey, that counts as food, right? I mean, who among us hasn't had a liquid lunch a few times a month? So that brings us to our final question. I asked both of you yesterday before, as we were planning this episode. I asked both of you this question and asked you to come up with an answer for this. What is something that haunts rarely, if ever, offer that you would like to see more of? Lindsay, go.
I can think of a few answers for this one. Maybe I'll give two, if that's okay.
Sure.
Speaking as a great big haunt nerd, I definitely want to see more character-specific merch. I'm not really picky as to what it is. I'm just really big on characters, and if there's a character I saw and I really liked that character, the actor made a lasting impression, of course I'd want to take home something that reminded me of that. And I'm a big coffee drinker, and it kills me because, like, I see so many normal drinking glasses, I see tumblers, I see shot glasses. Where are the coffee mugs? I mean, I do see them, but it's hardly ever, that I see them in a gift shop. So coffee mugs and more character merch.
Interesting. Yeah, I do see coffee mugs from time to time, but yeah, not everybody carries them. Interesting. Taylor, go.
All right. So I'm a really big patch person. Have you ever seen The Lost Boys?
Heard of it, never seen it.
Awesome. Well, that hurt my soul. But there's a character in it who has a jacket that's full of patches, and that has always been my favorite thing. So I have a jacket that I put patches on. So anytime I go anywhere, I try to find a patch so I can make my own patch jacket. So I really love patches, but I hardly ever see them at any attractions that I go to. So I'd really love to see that.
Interesting. So you're making a battle jacket, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. And I have one more ideal that I think would be really cool if like these haunts were doing it, kind of like comic books slash like a trading card situation, where like if they have a storyline, they turn it into a comic.
I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, I went to one convention where they were trying to do a starter up for serial killer trading cards. So I'm sure if Haunts did something similar, like with their Q members, especially if they had like a really solid storyline, that could be really interesting to have. And there's plenty of nerds out there who love either a really solid, awesome comic book cover, or the trading cards would just be really cool to have as well.
Yes, I agree with that. I would love to see that. However, the artwork needs to be commissioned by an actual artist because if I find out it's AI slop, I'm gonna riot.
I don't know if they still have them in the gift shop, but Wicked World Scaregrounds, which is in the Lexington, Kentucky area, did at one point sell trading cards of their characters, like with professional photos. I actually have a deck of those.
That's cool.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to see more of that. That's actually a really good answer to that question. I think my answer is I would love to see more really bespoke and unique items that are specific to that haunt that you just absolutely cannot find anywhere else, whatever it may be. handmade stuff. I really love that. The other thing I would really like to see are like Haunted Overload and Field of Screams and probably a few others around the country have their own specific, like they have their own beer that's made for them. I would love to see more of that because I am a beer drinker. And if you have a great beer, I want to buy it and I want to try it and I want to save the cans if the artwork on it is cool. Hey, like why not, right? You'll get my money. Don't worry, like I'll pay for it.
Yeah, the art's really cool. It's already a collectible.
Yeah. So any additional thoughts before we close this thing out?
Just have cool shit.
Have cool shit. That's what customers want is cool shit, and don't charge an arm and a leg for it. So that is just about all the time we have for today. You can find all of us here on the Scare Factor on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Check out our website, thescarefactor.com, to read reviews, find haunts, and to check out the newest section, Spooky Spots, where you'll find fun and spooky places to go all year round. This podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Deezer, Player FM, and Podcast Index. If you're listening to it, you found it. The Scare Factor is now an affiliate of FrankenFuel, energy drinks for weirdos like you. Yes, you. You can get 15% off your order today by going to frankenfuel.com/scare factor or by clicking the affiliate link in the show's description. FrankenFuel. Wake the dead, fuel the living. We have been Brian of Team Skelligore,
Taylor of Team Brady,
and Lindsay of Team Lone Wolf.
And this has been the Scare Factor Podcast. Stay scary.